That was loud. That was loud, wasn't it? Hey, how you doing? Hey there. Thank you for that thumbs up.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Hey there, Robert. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Start to a new week. Yesterday was Saturday, and we started all over again today. I hope that you guys remember to fall back, set your clocks back. You got that extra hour of sleep, but it's dark earlier, right? Wonderful. Tomorrow I will be 54. Yes, that's right. I got to remember that. Hopefully, you did tell us that Friday. You told us that Friday. Happy early birthday. Happy early birthday. Yeah, that's right. Because you said you didn't have any plans. Has that changed? Do you have plans now? I understand if you don't, but just treat yourself. It's your birthday. Just take yourself. If you don't like, because sometimes people don't like to have big celebrations. So I understand. But treat yourself. If you do nothing else, that could be take yourself out for a scoop of ice cream. It could be just sitting at home chilling. And it could also be working. Some people, they don't take off on their birthdays. They work. Um, I don't know. Some people say it's just they just rather work on their birthday, just like they rather work like on holidays. So even if you work and you rather work, make sure that while you're at work, do something good for yourself. Do something a little bit extra. Buy yourself a nice lunch for your lunch. Get something that you usually don't get. Don't get anything that'll make you too sleepy. But if you're off work, sometimes you can just chill. Sometimes you can just chill, and that can be your birthday gift. Because a lot of times we move, 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 move. So if you're a person that finds it hard to sit still, on your birthday, just sit still a little bit and treat yourself. I want to say, rest in peace to Leslie Wilson. Died in his sleep. He was the former lead singer of New Birth, and LTD. He was a great singer. Oh, you mean LTD with who was the other singer? Uh, Jeffrey. Is it Jeffrey Osborne? The group that he was in. I will. Thank God, I'm still here. Yes, yes. That there is the blessing. That is the birthday blessing. Thanking God. Thank you guys for those thumbs up. I appreciate you for those coming through. Whether you drop down in the chat and say hello or not, I appreciate you. But if I support you and I never see you drop down and you tell me I was in the bushes, then I'm going to be in the bushes, okay? I'm going to be in the bushes. Sitting on the limb, just looking down. Because you can easily say that. No one has any way of knowing that. You don't have to stay. You don't have to be in there the whole time. But there's nothing wrong with saying hello and keeping it moving. Remember the song Flower? Flower. I don't remember that song. Is that the one that the group that Jeffrey Osborne was in? If so, was that song while he was in the group or after he left? Was it while he was in the group or was it after he left? I got my hat on. I got my cap on, Robert. I had to charge the battery and the light. I got my flashlight too. Because you know, we walk rain, sun, a little snow, a little light snow, day or night. Day or night. You go across right here. Sometimes we jog a little bit, but we don't run, okay? We don't run, because if we run and we happen to slip and trip up or something, we don't want to end up with a broken phone, okay? We don't want to end up with we don't want to end up with a broken anything, first of all. We definitely don't want to end up with anything twisted or broken. But, yeah. You trip, you stumble. Even if you don't fall, that phone go flying across the street, into the bushes, into the trees. And then that's money, okay? That's money. And even if you have insurance on those phones, you have to pay something, which is ridiculous. Okay, thank you, I will. No, he replaced, he replaced Jeffrey and recorded the song Kicking Back. Okay. I don't know many of their songs. You have to do like you're doing. Maybe name it and I might remember it. But yeah, if you name it, I might remember it. But I mostly remember Jeff. And I knew that he was a part of their group. I mostly remember him. I don't know, I guess because he was just a standout. I saw him on social media not too long ago. He was like at a barbecue and they were jamming. I've been to a couple of his concerts, like at casinos and places like that. And he gives a great concert. It's old groups like that I would like to see reunite. Yep, I like to see old groups like that reunite. Let me make sure this is a cat, okay? Let me make sure that this is a cat, because it could be, listen y'all, it could be a raccoon, okay? I'm just gonna be honest, it could be a raccoon. So we're gonna make sure that this is a cat. Yeah, it's a cat. It's a cat. It's a cat. It's a cat. Because you know, it's getting dark earlier And the animals can tell too. You know, they can tell. I think some of them, the fact that it's dark may fool them and they'll come out a little bit earlier, like the opossums and the raccoons. But I think they can tell too. Jeffrey Osborne pursued a solo career. Yes, Leslie Wilson was his, replaced him. Look up this song Flower by New Birth on Soul Train. Okay, all right. Let me screenshot it so I won't forget. Because I probably remember his name, but then I'd be sitting there trying to remember the name of the song. You know, it's easy, Flower. So I got it. I'm gonna look it up. I was watching something earlier today about New Edition, and you know, the trials and tribulations that they went through, being from South Boston. You know, going through the things that they went through with that guy. I forgot his name, Rodney something, but you know, who was supposed to help them or discover them. And they talked about how their first check was like $1.80-something. I was like, wow. But you know, that right there is the main reason a lot of artists now, they're independent, and a lot of the reason why they take control of their own things, their catalogs and things like that. They just make sure that nobody can touch it but them and or their families. Because even back then, you know, there was no way in the world that those boys of New Edition should have gotten a check for $1.87. I think he said that check was like $1.87 that they got. And they said that, who was it? I think Bobby. Of course, Bobby. They said Bobby was livid. They all were mad. But Bobby spoke up. And then, you know, they make the excuse as far as like publishing, the bus rentals, the traveling, the paying the musicians, you know, not the musicians, but the studio and, you know, all this different stuff, wardrobe. They named all this stuff. And then they tried to make them feel like, see, we're helping you. We're making you look good. But how are you helping them when they're not able to take care of their families? And that's why they got into the business. They got into the business because, you know, when you're that age, when you're young, you just want to be an entertainer. So you're out there, you figure, okay, what if I get discovered? You get discovered. So that may be your love and your passion, but the next thing that pops into your mind is I can get out of the projects. I can get out of the slums. I can get out of this way of living that I've been living for me and my family. And then you get your first check and it's like $1.87. New Edition Boys to Men are doing a concert. Really? When are they doing a concert? I remember it was Maurice Starr that created them, but did them wrong. Yeah. Yep. And it was crazy because, like I said, they all got a check for like $1.87. And then, of course, you know, they said that they started off thinking it was kind of like, yeah, we're going to all come up, which a lot of people think that way. And it's like a brotherhood. They were from the same projects. But then, of course, Johnny Gill, who was a couple of years older, he got in there and he ain't lying. They said that everybody thought that he was to replace Bobby. I can remember people saying that Johnny Gill was going to replace Bobby because he went solo, of course. But I later found out that no, he was in there to kind of take over as the lead from Ralph. So I didn't know that. I thought it was for him to replace Bobby. You know, not really replace Bobby because Bobby can't be replaced. But you know what I'm saying, to take just the fifth spot. And so then I thought about it. And you remember they had BBD, Belle Biv DeVoe. But then they had BBD too, or something like that. Wait a minute. No. Whichever one that leaves Ralph out. So I think they were including Bobby in it. Like when they finally all just kind of went and Belle Biv DeVoe broke off and they had the hit with Poison and Bobby Brown was doing good. So I remember him doing good, like going platinum. Belle Biv DeVoe went platinum. And if you remember, even when back in the day, I can remember like my aunties and stuff talking about it, like Ralph was the lead singer. He's the only one that's not doing as good. So Ralph wasn't doing as good. You know, he had a few hits, but I don't think he had anything to go platinum while he was solo. And then just to hear the interview and to listen to him say he only really did solo because he didn't want to be stagnant. He said in his mind, it was always about the group. And he was, you know, I guess thinking eventually they would get back to New Edition, even though they were all doing their own thing, because he felt like it was supposed to be this brotherhood. They were all from the same complex, you know, all except Johnny. Then came to find out Johnny ended up with the rights to the name first. That was crazy. It was a lot of stuff. I'm like, how does he end up with the rights to the name first? Because for some people, Johnny never did fit with them. For some people, Johnny just never did fit with him. He was better off as a solo artist or maybe with even another group of people, you know, not really New Edition. He really never fit, even though he could sing his butt off. Probably was the best singer within the group. But the good thing now is that when they do, sometimes they make appearances. Like when they did the New Edition tour, I went to that concert and it was the bomb. It was the bomb. It was great. They all did their part. When Bobby, you know, he was kind of having some issues then, and it was so good to see them like help him out. You know, when he did some of his, because they all did all New Edition stuff, of course, and then they did some of their own solo music. So when Bobby needed help, when Ralph talked about, not Ralph, but when the narrator talked about how Ralph helped him, I remember that, like they all helped him. When he was on stage and he needed help, they all helped him. So it's still some love there. Like they said, they went through all their ups and downs, and Ralph said that he always held out that the group would be together. And so, you know, as they're getting older, you know, he said that he just had to learn that some people are just who they are. Their ways won't ever change. You know, Bobby is who he is, and he said that he's not perfect. He's who he is. You know, he talked about when Bobby and Ronnie got into a fist fight because Bobby didn't want to give up the microphone. It was like Bobby was having his own little mini concerts within the concert, and he wouldn't know when to let the mic go. So it was like one time, Ronnie just took it. And when Ronnie took the mic, they got into a fist fight. And you know, of course, Belle Biv DeVoe had their entourage. Bobby had his entourage. Ralph had his, you know, Johnny had his entourage. Everybody had their own entourage. So a lot of times that they would get into it. They would get into it. And they said that one time some pew-pewing went on. Some pop-pops got. But Johnny Gill said when that happened, he don't know what happened, but he got the heck up out of there. He got the heck up out of there. They said he got the heck up out of there. Bobby Brown was David Ruffin of the group. New Edition fired Bobby Brown because of his wild behavior. Yep. Johnny Gill was... They said that's what Johnny Gill said, that everybody thought because of the timing, it was out there that he was supposed to replace Bobby, and they never really addressed it because it was so much already going on. But he was brought in to replace Ralph. I do remember hearing something about that, because if you remember, Ralph had to start like sharing those songs. Like it would always be either they would all have their own little part, but for the most part, in most of the songs, Ralph would be the lead. And if you remember in Can You Stand the Rain, Johnny had a lot of the lead. So that was the thing. Everybody thought, okay, they need the fifth member. This is what Johnny is for. That's what the public thought. But they said behind scenes, they were working on him replacing Ralph. But Ralph didn't know it. The group didn't know it. I guess the managers and whoever, you know, the musical entourage, not the guys that run around with them, they knew it, but they didn't know it. And that's what happened. Ralph was sidetracked, and he said it ticked him off when he ended up seeing, I forgot what initials they used. It was like Belle Biv DeVoe and Bobby Brown. It was crazy. It was crazy. And I don't know if Johnny's initials was in on it or whatever, but it was almost like they kind of had said, well, let's just drop Ronnie and let's drop Johnny. So I forgot that they had that little 4-piece group for a minute. So he said that, yes, it's on YouTube. You can see it. They said that it was thought that he was supposed to be replacing Bobby. But nah, he was supposed to be replacing Ralph. And I was like, wow. And I guess, I don't know why. Because they said Ralph was always the one trying to keep peace. So I don't know. True, I loved their Heartbreak. Yeah, he had some good hits. Producer Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis did a good job. Yep. Because they said that they didn't know really, because they came in a little bit later. So they was like, Terry and Jimmy, they was just like, oh my gosh, It put them in a funny situation because they had already been formed as a group. And then they come aboard to help. And they had all this chaos going on. He was definitely the bad boy. Yep. He was definitely the bad boy. So, they had all that stuff going on. So, it was sad. It was sad. But again, at the end of the day, to see them come back together was good. So I was glad of that. And like when they did the tour, I went to see them. And when I tell you that was one of the best concerts that I've gone to, I put it in the top 5. I've been to see Beyonce, Bruno Mars. Lately, I'll say within the past 10 years, I've been to see Beyonce, Bruno Mars, New Edition, Nicki Minaj. I've been to see quite a few, but I will put them in the top 5, maybe even in the top 3. Maybe even in the top 3. And because when I go to a concert, of course it's about the music, but it's also about the show. So that's why a lot of times people will say, well, so-and-so is not a great singer. They're not a good singer. But sometimes they're a great entertainer. And when you can entertain, even sometimes if you can't sing, you're going to pull the crowd. People are going to love you. They're going to love you just like Michael Jackson, Prince. They were all around. Great performers, great singers, great entertainers. Usher, that's the other one, Usher, that I went to most recently. So when I tell you Usher puts on a show, Usher is the only artist I've seen skate around the doggone stage like he's an Olympic skater, okay? Usher, that comes from that ATL skating. Usher, Beyonce. People criticize and say Beyonce can't sing. She has proven time and time again that she can sing. Maybe not the way people would expect or want her to sing, but she can sing and out-sing a lot of people that they would put right there next to her to sing. So her acapella is good. All of her stuff is good. Like I said, it may not be the best singer you've ever heard, but she is one of the best entertainers I've ever watched. Her concerts are worth it. The concerts are worth it. Now, and that just depends on your preference too, That depends on your preference too. If you're not a Beyonce person, then her concert wouldn't be worth it. But if you're a person who maybe you're kind of sitting on the fence and maybe somebody invites you to the concert, I'm not going to say you definitely will you will definitely change your mind, but you won't be unsatisfied. You'll be pleased with the concert. You'll be pleased with the concert. So, sometimes you don't have to be the best singer. But if you can get out there and dance, entertain, and sometimes you don't have to be the best dancer. If you could connect with the audience, that's something that Usher does well. Connect with the audience. He connects with the audience really well during his concerts. That's right, Ralph was about to lead the group. Johnny Gill had that maturity. Yeah, yep, he did. I always felt like he, like I remember the time that, he, not him, but, what's his name? I remember the time that, Keith Sweat made the joke that he always wanted to be a part of, New Edition. And they were like, you was too old. But some people felt like Johnny was too old. Now, Johnny was older, I think, than all of them by maybe a couple of years. Not much. Like, a couple of them are like the same age. Like, I think right now Ralph is 57, they were saying. And the other ones might be like 55, 54, 55. And so Johnny, probably about 59 or 60. So I guess if you're 2 years apart, like I think the most was 2 years. Like Bobby is like maybe 56, 57. So I think the most was like a year or two apart within the group, maybe two. And then Johnny came and he was the oldest of all of them. But I don't really even think it was the age thing. I think it was they weren't Candy Girl age anymore. They were making adult music. And for him to be with them, we were so used to that little kind of, kid music, but they were transitioning into adult music. So we just knew those five. So when Johnny came along, it did seem like his maturity level, due to his voice, the strength of his voice, it was like maybe they could have made another choice. Maybe they could have made another choice. Belle Biv DeVoe had true hip hop image. Yes. Yep. Man, when Belle Biv DeVoe came on at the club or at the skating rink, everybody hit the floor. When that Poison came on, I don't care how little we were. We was out there dancing with our sisters and brothers, our uncles and aunties, our parents. Everybody hit the floor. Belle Biv DeVoe had true hip hop. Yep, Michael Vivian started Biv 10 Entertainment, launched Boyz II Men. Yep. So they, and he was able to be very successful because of the stuff that they had gone through and the things that they had learned. I remember Johnny Gill singing with Stacey Lattisaw. Right, Johnny Gill's voice changed the sound of the group. Right, tired of calling it bubblegummy. Yep. And even by the time he came, they had kind of transitioned from the bubblegum music. We still knew them for that. So it was like they were singing adult music. And as their voices changed, it's just like, who is Usher? Usher said that he struggled a little bit when his voice changed. Michael Jackson said he had a little struggle when his voice changed. So they probably had those same struggles. But if you think about it, the audience didn't really notice any difference. We just thought, okay, they're growing up now. But it was still Belle Biv DeVoe. It was still New Edition. It was still Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown was just able to be a little bit more carefree in what he said and what he did and how he performed on stage. With New Edition, he was trying to pop it and all that kind of stuff. And they were just kind of slowly transitioning to adulthood. And they thought he was going a little too fast. Some of the dance moves were a little too raunchy. So when Johnny came, he wasn't all about no popping it and, getting saucy with the women. But that voice, he brought in that Luther. He brought in that Luther type voice, that Gerald Levert type voice. And so that's why when he did get with, who was it? Gerald Levert. He kind of formed something with him. Was it him, Gerald Levert, and Keith Sweat? LG? What? Let me see. What was it? I think it was him, Levert, and Keith Sweat. They kind of formed a little trio one time. And so that was kind of his level. But even though their voices changed, they still sounded like New Edition to us. But he still sounded more mature. He still, even as adults, he sounded more mature than they did. Sounded like he was supposed to be singing that Luther type music, that Gerald Levert type music, that Jeffrey Osborne type music, that James Ingram type music. Yeah, I knew it was something. It seems like that's where he kind of was supposed to be. Seems like that's where he was supposed to be. It's been 30 minutes. I'm going to get out of here, Robert. Thank you so much for hanging in here with me, going down musical memory lane on this beautiful Sunday. Stay warm, okay? Stay blessed, first and foremost. Stay warm. Stay healthy, okay? And happy early birthday again. Tomorrow is your birthday, so the countdown has begun. The countdown has begun, okay? The countdown has begun. So I'm going to leave a few of those positive R words. Rest, relax. Hope you got some rest and some relaxation this weekend. Release. I hope you got a chance to release. Even if the things didn't go away, I hope that they were released. Okay? Remember, SELF. Self-love, self-motivation, self-dedication, self-respect, self-control, self-esteem. Definitely self-control. Okay? And I say that because I have a lack of patience. And sometimes when your patience are short, you can get to a point of losing control. So remember, practice self-control. All right? Self-acknowledgement. Self-esteem. If you don't love you, who else will? Okay? Thank you, Robert. Be good. No politics. Right, we didn't do any politics today. It's enough to be done, though, but we didn't do anything today. We let that clown in chief do his thing. He ticked me off, though. He sent some memo or email or something telling grocery stores that it's against the law to give SNAP people any discounts that they don't give everyday people. I was like, dude, sit the hell down. That was already something that they established a long time ago. But it doesn't change the fact that farmers markets and some grocery stores do give SNAP benefits. People who receive SNAP benefits, they give them certain, you know, discounts. I mean, what is the harm in that? It's like he's, I guess, saying, well, they get food stamps, and if you give them discounts, they'll be able to get even more food. Like, I never seen such an evil piece POS, you know? Never seen such an evil POS. So, we're going to leave him where he at. Let's see. They hid something. Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah. They say certain things, they're going to get mad at me. It's okay to say it. You just got to make sure you don't use that main word that you use, okay? Yeah, he's using food stamp as a weapon. It's you want to take food away from people because Democrats don't want you to take health care away from people. So either for the people, it's a lose-lose situation. But you got money, tear down something and rebuild it. Crazy. So I'm going to get out of here, y'all. All right. I wish you peace, positivity, and prosperity. Because without the peace and the positivity, what is this? Chaos and negativity. Wherever those two live together, you fail to prosper to your fullest potential. I want to prosper. I want you guys to prosper. I want your families and loved ones to prosper. Okay? All right? Don't let bother people bother you. And don't let stress people stress you out. And if you find them in your personal space, put them out. Okay? Tell them to grab their grip and go. And if you find yourself in their personal space and they start to act crazy, grab your grip and go. Okay? Get out of there. So I'll see you guys on the next Let's Walk and Talk in Lives Pride, okay? Thank you, Robert, for hanging in there with me. Let's see. What does that say? I'm trying to see what that says. That's crazy. Yes, they will. They will. Certain things that if it's put in your chat, that's just like when people tell people not to put all those emojis in their chat. You know, some countries may be different, but YouTube considers too many emojis, excessive emojis, as spam. And sometimes they have a lot of choices. They may like remove that person so that they can't comment in your chat again, or they may mess with the content creator. So a lot of times we have to remind people that certain words they're not going to let be seen, and certain things that they do, they might even mess with the content creator about it, which is crazy because you can't tell people what, you can't control people. If they do it, they do it. You just have to try to remove certain things, and sometimes you don't see it. But they also remove it themselves. So YouTube will also remove it. So that's a good thing. So take care. See you later. And I will check with you guys and hopefully see you on the next Let's Walk and Talk in Lives Pride on tomorrow. Bye, y'all.